Here we go!
My friends, it finally happened. GoldenEye has been officially re-released on modern consoles, and today I'm going to share some of the strange and interesting differences I found between the modern games and the original. We've got re-releases on the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox, and today we're going to focus on the Nintendo Switch version. What are some changes, alterations, or weird things I found in Nintendo Switch GoldenEye? Keep in mind, it's literally the same ROM that Nintendo just basically uploaded to the Switch, so the changes are pretty obscure and niche in nature, which is just the kind of thing that I love. And I found a fair few, so let's get into it. So this first one might be intentional by some regard. The muzzle flashes are just way less bright. You can really notice this with the AR-33. I heard longtime GoldenEye streamer Grassloo mention on one of his playthroughs that he heard that some others have said Nintendo has reduced flashing bright textures in the past in consideration of those who are light sensitive. So while I think in general there were very few intentional changes made to the game, the reduced muzzle flash brightness intensity might just be one of them. Okay, just look at the runway plane here. It's just so dark for some reason. It definitely looks more like a glitch than anything intentional. I can't imagine why any graphical render would cause this, but it's just true. It's way darker than the original plane. The tanks are also a little darker than the original, but not quite as substantially so. I thought this was a funny comment from Munefair, who suggests that the plane is dirty from sitting on the runway tarmac for all those years. I mean, hey, that's as good of an explanation as any. It even shows up dark in the cutscene, flying away almost in blackness. Yeah, I have no explanation for why this happened, but it did, and it's definitely strange. So here's one that's noticeable, especially at these blue elevator doors which are common throughout the game. Their textures just seem kind of off, like the yellow is less bright or something. I mean, it's not just me, right? You know, look at the end of the silo here on the Switch, and now the N64. This is almost certainly just some kind of rendering discrepancy, I mean, as are most of these differences, but it's definitely noticeable. Okay, so in a previous video, I mentioned how these textures on Dam kind of look like a white whale jumping into the ocean. Some people see Donkey Kong, whatever you see, it's all good. This footage here is from the original N64 version of the game. However, if we switch to the Switch version, you can immediately see a huge difference. The white whale or Donkey Kong texture repeats way more frequently and way more uniformly. In the original, it's kind of spread out here and there. The texture isn't the same repeated over and over, but on the Switch, it's as if they just took one tile of the texture and plastered it everywhere. This is really weird, considering they didn't really change anything else with the game, yet somehow the tiling of this specific texture got changed. I haven't noticed similar textures on other levels being changed, so this is just very, very bizarre. Also, later in the dam, the texture seems to be normal again, like the original, more spread out and not uniform in size. So yeah, this is a really weird one. Okay, this one's just kind of annoying. The drone guns don't really get destroyed in a conventional sense. Like, you shoot them out and you get the mini explosion texture, they're no longer functional, but they look the exact same. They look as if they're in service. This can be really spooky when you're playing and you think you've destroyed the drone, but then turn around and see it staring you in the face again. I got a little spooked myself when beating Control 00 Agent and Aztec 00 Agent. Now, if you do continue shooting it, it eventually does degrade less and less, so, you know, fair enough. But the initial form of it looking not destroyed at all is just very strange, and a departure from the way drones get destroyed in the original N64 version. Okay, so this is probably the weirdest rendering issue I've seen. Many objects in the distance sort of pop in and out of focus, or color, when zooming in or out with zoomed weapons like the sniper. You can see it here with the satellite dish on Dam, and you can see it with these boxes at the bottom of the dam too. The boxes are especially weird because this wooden one, which is physically placed in front of the silver one, just kind of vanishes when zooming back and forth. I mean, this is probably just something to do with draw distance and loading. Maybe we can see more clearly in the Switch version, so you can sort of witness these items drawing in and out of focus, whereas everything was just unloaded for longer on the N64. I don't really know, but I do find it strange and interesting. The silo doors demonstrate this pretty well too. Like, sure, draw distance is one thing, but why is the color so much more vibrant on one end of the zoom? Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, I know this is minor as they all are, but I just love the way this one looks. On both Statue and Frigate, you encounter the pirate helicopter, and the text is just so much brighter and more vibrant on the Switch version. On the N64, you can barely notice the beautiful text in-game, but on the Switch it's just so bold. The contrast between it and the black helicopter is beautiful. I think the helicopter as a whole is really cool, and it just gives me a whole new appreciation for it. The rendering is just so much more crisp. I mean, the helicopter is maybe the single thing that looks the most improved from the N64 version. Oh yeah, there's also a helicopter on Surface 2 towards the end. There's not any bright text there, however, I did notice that the wheels kind of render poorly showing through the opposite side of the helicopter, you know, like some kind of tesseract warping through time and space. But hey, I can't definitively say that this also didn't happen on the original N64 version. Let me check. Oh, well there you go, it does. Alright, this one will be impossible to convey visually, but Caverns just feels really laggy. It's really weird too because on N64, the laggiest levels are Jungle and Train, and those are not laggy on the Switch version. However, all of a sudden, Caverns does become laggy on Switch. It's not terrible, but instead of running at like 30 frames per second, it feels like it runs maybe around 20 or 25, so it's definitely noticeable, especially if you've been playing through the game, getting used to a smoother, more consistent frame rate that the new technology offers, and then all of a sudden you're hit with this kind of choppy, laggy Caverns. Oh well, it didn't prevent me from beating the level or anything, and you know what they say, my friends, it is what it is. Some of the items you pick up are just more sharp and vibrant looking, but none as much as the flight recorder on Statue. It's just such a bright orange, whereas it was always a little dim and more blurry on the original version. I mean, okay, this isn't a shocking revelation or anything, but you know, in the past I've tried to get good screenshots of the flight recorder for thumbnails, emotes, stuff like that, and it was hard. But this time around, it's very easy. It's just so vibrant and easy to find. Oh, here's something else when it comes to the flight recorder, and this is actually probably the biggest difference I've found in the game. I decided I should check to see if you can still see the flight recorder when zoomed in with the sniper at the beginning of the statue. But you can't. The helicopter's still there, and the flight recorder should be there at the foot of the helicopter, but it's not. This is really surprising because the flight recorder is so much more vibrant, and I thought for sure you would be able to see it. I just don't have an explanation for it. You know, did they change it and remove it from here? I really doubt they went in and did all that, but who knows? Maybe the rendering of the shadows or darkness or something just overwhelms the flight recorder? Yeah, I have no idea. So this one is weird and strange, just the kind of thing I love. On Frigate, if you're looking out over the beautiful ocean, the blue yonder, which firstly reminds me of playing Shy Guy Says in Mario Party 1, you can sometimes get this weird rift splitting through part of this screen. It doesn't happen at every angle, but it definitely does not exist on the original version. Sure, it's just a visual glitch, but I think it's just so perfect. I love the Frigate Rift. It actually reminds me, and this is getting a bit random now, but I'd been playing a good bit of GeoGuessr a few months ago, and it reminds me of the rift in the Senegalese skies, which help you in the country streak mode. Okay, alright, you sometimes also see the horizon glitching between light and dark. It seems kind of similar to the zooming draw distance glitches we've seen earlier. I can't explain it, but the Frigate Rift is probably my favorite rendering glitch that I've discovered thus far in the new GoldenEye release. here's even more when it comes to the dam rendering. There are just a ton of these exposed seams, which can be seen in so many places. Like here in the tunnel, you get this bright blue seam where you can just see through the void into the skybox down below. Or here towards the end of the stage, you get these white seams through the mountains, which is just really odd. I don't really know what explains this or how it happens on a technical level, but it's definitely noticeable. I was surprised to find that the mountains here on Dam are actually solid and loaded. You know, you can see these sniper shots actually land and hit the mountain, which is pretty remarkable. I knew the mountains on the other side were loaded, but to see this side as well? I mean, it shouldn't really have been surprising, but I was kinda surprised. And yeah, don't get me wrong, there are definitely some places on the original game where there are small cracks in the architecture, but they're barely noticeable and you really have to be searching for them to find them. Whereas they just pop up and really hit you in the face here on the Switch version. Everywhere you look, there's just a new seam leaking through time and space to the skybox. So here's a true story. An old friend literally dropped off his Xbox with me for a week so I could play it and get him all the achievements, just like the olden days where I'd unlock invincibility and whatnot for friends after grade school. So I'll be doing a similar video exploring anything new or interesting I find on the Xbox version, and if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a new video. I'll be posting more GoldenEye videos and topics this month too in celebration of the re-release, and if you're new to this channel, I have a ton of niche GoldenEye videos for you to check out in the meantime. Thanks for watching, my friends, stay true, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.